Hey, it's Tom Church from latestdeals.co.uk, and today I'm talking about first credit cards. If you've never had a credit card and you're wondering how does it work, then keep watching. Very quickly then, credit cards are a way of borrowing money. Let's say you're a student about to go to university and you think a first credit card may be useful to help you buy some textbooks. How does it work? Well, you borrowed the money from a bank or from a credit card company, and that money is given to you in the form of a credit card. It's kind of got a credit limit, and they say you can spend up to £500, £1,000. You spend that money on your textbooks, and at the end of the month, you have to pay it back. And you pay it back to the bank or to the credit card company. Sorry, it's this way. You pay it back with interest if you're not careful. What is interest? I've heard that before. When you go to a coffee shop and you buy a coffee, it costs about £2-3 and you pay a fixed fee. £2-3, got my coffee. Well, it also costs you money to borrow money. It's not free. So when you borrow the money from the credit card company and you spend it, if you fail to pay it back in full, it'll also cost you money. But unlike the coffee, where it was a fixed amount, with credit cards, it's a variable amount, usually a percentage. So it will cost you 2 to 3% of the money that you borrowed. So by way of example, let's say you borrowed £100. They might charge you 2% interest, which is £2. So at the end of the month, you have to pay back £100 plus 2%, £2. So £102 in total. So can you get a credit card without credit history? First credit cards is the name given to credit cards for people in this specific situation to help you build your credit score from nothing. How are first credit cards different from normal credit cards? Well, there's three main differences. Number one, a lower credit limit. First credit cards tend to have lower credit limits. This means you're unable to borrow as much as a regular credit card. Usually the limit is between £100 and £1,200. You might be able to grow this limit over time, but to begin with, it will be small. Number two, a higher APR. What is APR? It stands for annual percentage rate, and that's the name given to the fee of interest. So I mentioned earlier, interest might be 2%. Well, it's actually 2% APR. So with first credit cards, there's a higher interest rate, APR. Because you don't have a credit history, you're considered high risk. They don't know if you'll pay this money back or not. So in order to lend you this money, they charge you a higher rate. Just make sure you pay it back, and then you can get a normal credit card with slightly lower interest rate. And number three, there are less perks and rewards with first credit cards. Standard credit cards usually come with more rewards. For example, 0% introductory rates for interest, i.e. they don't charge you anything for a long time, or cashback, or air miles, things like that. First credit cards won't have these things. So if you're going to get a first credit card, you need to make sure you follow these 5 really important steps. Number one is never to miss a deadline when you pay back the money. So this is not like a student loan where you pay it back in some distant point in the future. Your future self, when you're making your millions, will sort it out. No, credit cards need to be paid off now. Number two, try to clear your balance in full every month. The best way to make the most out of your credit card is to pay back what you've borrowed in full. That way you won't be charged interest. Again, the easiest way to do this is with a direct debit. Just connect your bank account to your credit card. Number three, stay below your credit card limit. Your first credit card is probably going to have a low credit limit. However, it's a bit of a trick because that doesn't mean you can't spend more. They kind of tease you. They say you can only spend £200, but actually if you try, you would see you can spend £500. This is where trouble lies. If you go above this limit, they will charge you fees and it negatively affects your credit score. Number four, don't apply for too many credit cards. Every time you're thinking about getting a credit card, the first thing to do is look on their website and try an eligibility checker. This is a tool which will tell you, yes, you can get this credit card, but without actually applying for it. If it ever says no, don't apply. it can affect your credit score in a negative way. Every time you apply for a credit card, it will be listed on your credit history, and if you apply for too many, it can make you look a bit desperate for money, which is a bad thing. And finally, number 5, watch out for hidden fees. One of my biggest bugbears about credit cards is that they charge you when you withdraw money from an ATM. There are all sorts of hidden fees which depend on your credit card, so just make sure you read the small print really carefully. Things like spending money abroad, things like transferring your money to somewhere else, things like paying for things that are slightly weird. All sorts of things have hidden fees that all get added to your debt, which you then pay interest on. So it's a bit tricky, but make sure you read the small print very carefully. So after all that, should you get a credit card in the first place? It's a really personal decision and it totally depends on your circumstances. You should only get a credit card if you can trust yourself to pay it off in full every month. Now, that's a lot easier said than done. Your future self is always kind of better than you are right now. Your future self is always richer, in a better place, happier, able to pay it back. The truth is, your future self is often in the same places that you are now. So I would say make this decision based on you in this moment. Can I afford to pay this back every month in full? And the next big thing I want to tell everyone is you should never, ever, no, get a credit card just because you think you should. Lots of people think you need a credit history, you need a credit score, you need a credit card to be able to do things in the future like get a mortgage. Hear it from me. You can have a good credit score without a credit card. Lots of things contribute to your credit score. For example, whether you're registered on the electoral register, i.e. you're available to vote in the elections from where you are. Every time you do a direct debit, for example, to subscription services, your mobile phone contract, your utility bills like gas and electricity, they all contribute. I didn't have a credit card until I was about 30 years old, and I applied for a mortgage before I had a credit card, and I had a good credit score. I've shared that on latestdeals.co.uk before in the past. You don't need a credit card to get a good credit score, but it can help. It can also make things worse if you get it wrong. But having said that, some credit cards, especially the more regular ones, which you can apply for after you've got your first one and built up a credit history, some of them do offer good rewards and buyer protection, which is why they can be useful. You just really need to be careful that you're always paying it off and not growing your debt to an uncontrollable amount. So with that being said, I hope this guide was helpful. Please give it a thumbs up, or if you have any questions, pop them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. And if you're interested in any other types of credit cards, whether that's cashback credit cards, whether it's air mile credit cards, travel credit cards, balance transfer credit cards, student credit cards, we've done videos on all of them. Go to Latest Deals on YouTube. Go down and you'll see we've got a playlist called Credit Cards. You'll see lots and lots of videos there. We also have a website, latestdeals.co.uk, where we've got full guides. These are huge and so detailed about what the best credit cards are, with dozens of FAQs, questions that people have asked, and our answers. Much more detail than what I'm able to share in this video. Thanks for watching.